My brother made my life hell, and got my wife pregnant. Now he wants my help after our parents disowned him and left me their $2 million inheritance. Growing up, people said my brother Ryan and I were opposites. That was the polite way of saying he was the favorite, and I was the filler. Ryan had this charm that could hypnotize anyone, teachers, neighbors, even strangers. He could lie straight to your face, and somehow, you'd end up apologizing to him. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one. The kid who followed the rules, got good grades, and stayed out of trouble. You'd think that would make my parents proud. But no. In our house, attention was a currency, and Ryan had it all. I remember being 12, standing in the kitchen with a perfect report card in my hand. My mom glanced at it for 2 seconds before asking if I'd seen where Ryan went with the car. My dad said, "Good job, son," without even looking up from his newspaper. Ryan walked in 5 minutes later, reeking of cigarette smoke, and announced he'd joined a local band. My parents lit up like it was the second coming. "That's wonderful, Ree. You're so talented." I just stood there, invisible. It didn't stop there. Every time Ryan screwed up, I was the one who paid for it. When he crashed Dad's car at 17, I was grounded for not stopping him. When he got caught shoplifting, they said I was a bad influence for not keeping him out of trouble. He was their golden boy. I was the scapegoat. But the worst part? Ryan knew it. He enjoyed it. He'd smirk at me after every lie he told, every punishment I took for him, whispering things like, "Face it, Mikey, they'll always love me more." By the time we hit adulthood, I learned to stay away. I moved out at 20, got a job in accounting, and built a quiet life. Ryan? He jumped from one scheme to another, selling cars 1 month, flipping houses the next, always chasing easy money. Our parents bailed him out every single time. Whenever they called, it was never to ask how I was doing. It was to ask if I could help my brother out for a bit. Help. That word became a weapon. Ryan's having a rough patch. Ryan just needs a little cash to get back on his feet. Ryan's trying, Michael. Be a good brother. And I'd give in, every single time, because saying no made me the selfish one. But something changed when I met Lena. She was kind, funny, warm, everything I didn't know I'd been missing. For once, I had someone who saw me, not just the shadow of my brother. She made me believe I could have a life that wasn't defined by him. We dated for 2 years before getting married. It was small, private, just a few friends and co-workers. My parents didn't come. They said it was too short notice, but I knew the truth. Ryan wasn't invited, so they didn't want to come. That was fine. I'd already made peace with being the outsider. For a while, life was good. Peaceful. I had a stable job, a loving wife, a modest home. I thought I was finally free. Until one evening, when the doorbell rang, and there he was. Ryan. Smiling like we were old friends. "Hey, little bro," he said, clapping me on the shoulder like nothing had ever happened. "Long time no see." I remember standing there, speechless. He looked thinner, worn down, but his eyes still had that same glint. The glint of someone who knew he could ruin your life with just a smile. Lena peeked out from the kitchen, wiping her hands. "Who's that?" Ryan grinned. "Family." And that's how the nightmare started again. At first, I tried to tell myself I was overreacting. Ryan showing up after years of silence, maybe it wasn't some grand scheme. Maybe, just maybe, he really had changed. He said all the right things that night. How he'd messed up, how he wanted to reconnect, how family should stick together. I wanted to believe him. God help me, I really did. Lena encouraged it. She had this soft heart that always saw the good in people. When Ryan came by the second time, she cooked for him. When he came a third, she told me, "He's trying, Michael. Maybe this is a chance to fix things." And that's how the door opened. Before long, Ryan was over every weekend, cracking jokes, telling wild stories about the old days, pretending like the years of manipulation never happened. My guard was up at first, but little by little, he wore me down. He started helping out around the house, mowing the lawn, fixing small things, playing with our dog. He was charming again, that same golden smile my parents always fell for. And for a while, I thought, maybe he's really trying. But there were small things, red flags I ignored. He'd make little comments about Lena, like, "Man, Mike, you really outkicked your coverage with her." Or, if I'd met her first, who knows, huh? He'd laugh afterward, but his eyes always lingered on her a second too long. Then came the boundary breaking. He'd text Lena directly, "Hey, I'm stopping by, you need anything?" or, "Just checking in, how's your day?" She told me about it once, thought it was sweet. I brushed it off. Then one day, I came home early from work. Ryan's car was in the driveway. Lena wasn't expecting me. I walked in to find them sitting close on the couch, whispering about something. They jumped when I entered. Ryan smiled too quickly. "Hey, man, didn't know you'd be home already." Lena looked flushed, nervous. "We were just talking about you, how hard you work. Ryan was telling me you used to draw comics as a kid." It was innocent enough, but something in my gut twisted. After that, I started noticing things. Ryan would find excuses to be alone with her, helping her carry groceries, fixing a light fixture, offering to keep her company when I worked late. And Lena started changing too. Distant. Distracted. Always defending him when I brought it up. "Don't be paranoid, Michael," she'd say. "He's just trying to bond with you." Bond. Right. Then, one night, I got the call that shattered everything. Lena was crying. I could barely make out her words through the sobs. "I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't mean for this to happen." My chest went cold. "What happened?" She hesitated. Then she said it. "I'm pregnant." At first, I was stunned, joy, confusion, everything mixing together. "That's great, Lena. That's..." And then she said, "It's not yours." Everything inside me froze. My mind rejected the words. I couldn't process them. "What do you mean it's not mine? What are you saying?" She broke down completely. "I made a mistake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was one time. He said he loved me. I was stupid." "Who?" I demanded, though deep down, I already knew. Silence. Then, faintly, "Ryan." I swear I didn't breathe for a full minute. My hands went numb. The room spun. The next thing I remember, I was driving to Ryan's apartment. I don't even remember getting in the car, just the blinding rage and betrayal boiling inside me. When he opened the door, he looked surprised, but not guilty. He smirked, that same smug grin I'd seen my whole life. "Hey, Mikey. Guess you heard." I lunged at him, but he didn't flinch. He just laughed. "It just happened, man. You can't really blame her. She said you were, you know, kinda boring." I hit him. Hard. He stumbled back, bleeding from his lip but still laughing. "Guess that makes us even, huh? You got mom and dad's approval, I got your wife." Something broke in me then, not anger, not hatred. Just emptiness. I turned and walked out. Didn't look back. That night, I packed my things. Lena begged me to stay, said she'd do anything to fix it. But there are some things you can't come back from. I filed for divorce the next morning. A week later, my parents called, not to comfort me, but to scold me. "Michael, how could you do this to your brother?" my mother snapped. "To him?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "He got my wife pregnant. He made a mistake," she said coldly. "Family forgives." "Then you forgive him," I said. "Because I'm done." And that was the day I stopped being their son. Time has a way of dulling pain, or at least, that's what people say. For me, it didn't dull anything. It just buried it under layers of exhaustion, bitterness, and silence. After the divorce, I left everything behind. The city, the house, the memories. I found a small apartment 2 towns over, far enough that I wouldn't risk running into either of them at the grocery store. I started over. Therapy helped. Work helped. Mostly, distance helped. For the first time in my life, I lived without the constant noise of Ryan's shadow over me. No guilt calls from my parents. No forced, family dinners. No one telling me to be the bigger person. I finally had peace. Meanwhile, word trickled back through extended family, Ryan's life was falling apart. Apparently, he and Lena didn't last. Big surprise. She left him after less than a year. From what I heard, she realized he wasn't just selfish, he was cruel. Controlling. Manipulative. The same things I'd grown up with. He drained what little money she had, wrecked her credit, and when she tried to leave, he guilt-tripped her with the baby. That baby, the one that shattered my life, became another pawn in his game. It was poetic, in a dark way. Meanwhile, Ryan bounced between jobs, burned every bridge, and somehow always found someone else to blame. Bad luck. Toxic bosses. Jealous people. Never him. And my parents? They kept defending him. Every few months, I'd get an email or a voicemail, mom's voice trembling, dad sighing in the background. Ryan's trying, Michael. He's just had a rough patch. He misses you. You should reach out. Family's all we have. I deleted every message without replying. Because family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And they never gave me any. Years passed. I built something stable, a new job managing finance for a construction firm, good friends, and quiet weekends. I didn't remarry. Didn't even date seriously. I guess after what happened, I just didn't have it in me to trust like that again. Then one day, my father called. It was a short call, no lectures this time. Just a soft, tired voice. Your mother's not doing well, son. Maybe you should visit. And despite everything, I went. I told myself it was out of duty, not love. But deep down, I just wanted to see them one last time, to make peace with myself. When I arrived, the house was smaller than I remembered. Or maybe it was just the years of resentment that made it seem that way. Mom looked frail, older than she should have. Dad too. And Ryan, he was there, sitting on the porch with a cigarette in hand, smirking like nothing had changed. Well, look who decided to show up, he said. Mr. Perfect himself. I didn't reply. I just walked past him. Mom cried when she saw me. Dad looked relieved. For a few hours, we all pretended to be a family again. Ate dinner, talked about nothing. But the tension sat heavy in the air, thick and unspoken. When Mom went to bed, Dad called me into his study. He sat me down, cleared his throat, and said quietly, "We're getting older, son. Your mother and I talked it over. When we go, everything we have, the house, the savings, it's going to you." I froze. What about Ryan? Dad sighed. We've given him enough chances. You're the only one who ever did right by us. You deserve it. I didn't know what to say. For the first time in my life, they saw me. Too late, but still. Ryan must have overheard. Because the next day, he exploded. He called me a thief, screamed that I'd manipulated them into cutting him out. He punched a hole in the wall, shouted that I'd stolen his family, his woman, and now his inheritance. I didn't say a word. I just left. 2 months later, Dad passed away. Mom followed soon after. When the lawyer called about the will, I almost didn't answer. But I did. And sure enough, they'd left everything, about $2 million in total, to me. Ryan wasn't mentioned once. That's when the messages started. At first, it was fake nice. Hey, man. I know we've had our differences, but we're still brothers, right? Then, I'm in a rough spot. You could help me out a little. Then the mask dropped. You think you're better than me? You wouldn't even have that money if it wasn't for me taking the heat all those years. He showed up at my office once, yelling, demanding I split it evenly like a man. I had security escort him out. That night, he sent a text that just said, "You'll regret this." But I didn't. For the first time, I didn't feel scared, guilty, or small. I just felt free. Because karma finally did what I couldn't, it broke him. It had been about 6 months since I inherited my parents' estate when I heard from Ryan again. I remember it vividly, a rainy Thursday evening, I was home alone, halfway through a glass of bourbon and a quiet jazz playlist when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally, I ignore those. But something in me, maybe instinct, maybe curiosity, made me pick up. Hello? There was silence for a second, then a voice I hadn't heard in months said, "Hey, Mike, it's me. Ryan." I didn't say anything. Just waited. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from," he continued, "but I've been working on myself. I went to rehab. Got clean. Been doing therapy." The way he said it, slow, deliberate, like he was reading from a script. "I wanted to apologize," he said. "For everything. I was a mess back then. I hurt you, and I hurt a lot of people. But I'm not that guy anymore. I should have hung up right then. But curiosity kept me listening." He talked for nearly 15 minutes, spinning a story about redemption, volunteering, sobriety, rebuilding his life. It sounded too polished. Too careful. Then he said, "I'd love to meet up sometime. Maybe coffee? Just to talk." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Not because I believed him, but because I wanted to see him, to see if time had actually changed the monster I grew up with. We met at a small cafe downtown. I got there early, sat near the back. When he walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight, trimmed his hair, dressed neatly. He smiled when he saw me, an awkward, hesitant smile that almost looked genuine. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Thanks for coming." We talked. Or rather, he talked. About how he was turning things around, how he was done with the old life, how he was grateful for a second chance. I listened quietly, nodding here and there. Then, halfway through his coffee, he finally got to the real reason he came. "So," he said, clearing his throat. "I've been trying to get a place of my own, but, rent's insane right now. And work's slow. You know how it is." There it was. I leaned back, watching him carefully. "What are you asking for, Ryan?" He hesitated. "I mean, you've got that house now, right? And the money Mom and Dad left. I just thought maybe you could help me out. Not a lot, just enough to get me on my feet again." I felt it then, that same old burn of anger, crawling up from years of swallowing it down. "You want me to give you money?" I asked quietly. He looked at me, all innocence and fake humility. "Not give, just lend. I'll pay you back, I swear. You know I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate." I almost laughed. "You mean like the last 10 times you were desperate? When you stole from Mom's savings? Or when you took Lena's credit card and maxed it out?" His jaw tightened. "That's not fair. I was in a bad place." "Ryan, you are a bad place," I said. "And you always drag everyone else into it." The mask cracked just a little then. His smile faltered. He leaned forward, his voice low and sharp. "You really think you're better than me, don't you? Just because Mom and Dad finally noticed you at the end?" "No," I said calmly. "But I know I'm not stupid enough to let you screw me over again." His face changed, all that fake politeness melting into something darker. "You owe me, Michael," he hissed. "You don't get to sit there in your fancy house, living off our parents' money, acting like you earned it all yourself. You think they'd want you to hoard it like some kind of saint?" "I think they'd want me to have peace," I said. "Which means not giving you a damn thing." For a second, he stared at me, pure hatred burning in his eyes. Then he slammed his fist on the table so hard that people turned to look. "You selfish, heartless bastard," he snapped. "You act like you're some kind of victim, but you've had everything handed to you. You always have." That was it. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and said, "We're done here." As I walked away, he yelled after me, "You'll regret this, Mike. You hear me? You'll regret it." Every person in that cafe went silent, staring as he stood there, shaking with rage. I didn't look back. That night, he started calling again. Then texting. Begging 1 minute, threatening the next. I blocked him, of course, but people like Ryan don't stop when you say no. A week later, I found muddy footprints near my garage door. Then someone tried to open my side gate in the middle of the night. The cameras caught him. Ryan. Standing there, hood up, staring into the lens for a full minute, like he wanted me to know he'd been there. That's when I knew this wasn't over. The night Ryan broke into my house, it wasn't subtle. It was 2:47 a.m., I remember because I woke up to the faint sound of something shattering downstairs. At first, I thought it was just the wind knocking something over, but then I heard it, slow, heavy footsteps on the hardwood floor. My heart started pounding. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and pulled up the camera feed. There he was. Ryan. In a dark hoodie, moving through my living room like he owned the place. I felt that familiar mix of anger and disbelief, the same emotions that had followed him my entire life. Every lie, every betrayal, every time he burned everything and expected me to clean it up. Not this time. I called the police and stayed quiet, watching him on my screen. He wasn't stealing. He wasn't searching. He was wandering, touching the walls, the furniture, like he was reminiscing. Then he looked straight at the camera. I'll never forget that grin. When the cops arrived, he was already outside, pounding on my front door and yelling, "Come on, Mike. We're family. Don't do this." The flashing blue lights illuminated him like a spotlight. He didn't even try to run. When they handcuffed him, he kept shouting that I'd set him up. As they took him away, I stood on my porch in silence, the cold air biting at my skin. It should have felt like relief. It didn't. It just felt empty. A few days later, I got a call from the detective handling his case. "Mr. Anderson," he said, "your brother's facing multiple charges: trespassing, destruction of property, violation of a restraining order. But, he's insisting he just wanted to talk things out." I almost laughed. He doesn't know how to talk. He only knows how to take. "Understood," the detective said. "We'll proceed." And that was that. Ryan spent 3 months in county jail before they released him on probation. I didn't hear from him again, until about a year later. It was an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter, the kind you can tell was rewritten 10 times before being sent. It started simply. "Mike. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I ruined everything. I've been sober for 9 months. I'm living in a halfway house now. I miss Mom and Dad. I miss you." It went on for pages: regret, self-pity, promises that he'd changed. At the end, he wrote, "I hope one day we can sit down and talk like brothers again." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because forgiveness isn't something you owe someone just because they finally ran out of excuses. I folded the letter, slid it into an envelope, and mailed it back to him, blank, except for a single note inside. "Enjoy your second chance. You won't get another." A few weeks later, I got a call from one of his old friends. Ryan had violated his parole, got into another fight, drunk and high again. He was back in jail. That was the last I ever heard of him. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I still think about the way things could have been. How different our lives might have turned out if Ryan had just chosen differently. But then I remember all the times I gave him chances, how he took my kindness, my trust, my peace, and turned them into weapons. People like Ryan don't change. They just pause long enough to make you believe they have. So no, I didn't visit him. I didn't write. I didn't check on him again. I built a new life. One that didn't revolve around fixing the broken parts of someone else's chaos. My house became my sanctuary, quiet, peaceful, everything he never let me have growing up. And sometimes, when I walk past the mirror, I catch my own reflection, calmer now, stronger, and I realize something that took me years to learn. You don't have to forgive someone to move on. You just have to stop letting them in.